in this presentation, we're going to be dealing with the appropriate cultivation techniques, specifically dealing with onions. There are a lot of techniques, yes, that can probably go on to other crops. However, we are going to be looking specifically at the actual onions. In this case, the objectives we are looking at is to promote better practices in the cultivation of onions, to foster new planting techniques, and to strengthen the various farming techniques used in the production of onions today. Bear in mind that what we are doing right now is a guide. I like to say we are doing the paper techniques of farming, all right? But when you go out there and you actually do your practical farming, you're gonna actually learn new techniques, your own personal techniques, okay? And it's not to say that what we are doing here is stupidness or what you are doing is stupidness. It's just different techniques that work for you, all right? Onions are the third most consumed vegetable after potatoes and tomatoes. Who would have known? Especially with the amount of seasoning that we make in Barbados. Onions. And then, one other thing about onions too is that they require a high level of management. When you plant them out in the field, it's not one of these things, one of these crops that you can go like sugar cane, let me just plant it out and leave it. You know, it requires some level of management. You need to be there for your crop. You need to have the inputs because it requires a lot of inputs in terms of cultural practices. And if I use a word that you're not associated with or familiar with, you can ask me to stop and let me try to explain it as good as I possibly can, all right? It is labor intensive because you're going to be looking at weeding, you're going to be looking at your fertilizers, you're going to be looking at your pesticide management, even your soil management. So you have to realize that onions are not just something or a crop that you just put out there, as I said. And based on the seminars that we've had before, for who would have come to them, you would know that we've taken into consideration great record keeping and time management. Time management is required when you're dealing with onions, okay? We've also looked at certain things in terms of good agricultural practices. And this is another thing that I want you guys to take in consideration when you're looking into a crop like onions, okay? Especially when you're applying your fertilizers and your pesticides and how you keep them, etc. I am an agronomist. I believe in biology, I believe in science. So I'm not just going to go and say, you know, let me just plant an onion, let me just pelt the seeds in the ground. We have to understand the onion itself. Have you ever seen an onion with a stem? What type of leaves do onions have? What type of roots does an onion have? So you need to understand the actual structure of a plant to understand how you are going to be dealing with it once you put it in the soil. Okay, and this will help you to basically understand the behavior, what you see after you plant it. All right, so it is a bulb. And a bulb basically is, they're composed of shortened underground stems, and it's surrounded by a fleshy modified scale. A scale is what we would call, what is really the leaf, but when you cut the onion, that white part, that's going to be your scales, all right? And they're modified leaves basically for your storage, or for the onion storage rather. And they basically compress around to form that bulb, or enveloped in a central bulb at the tip of the actual stem. You're gonna see that the onion, actually where you're seeing the basal plate, is really and truly the stem area. It has the roots, and you can see the picture over there with the roots, which is really and truly adventitious roots. And by adventitious too, you have to realize that they're very short roots. They don't grow as deep as some other crops. For example, it's not obviously a sweet potato, it's not a cassava, the roots are not that deep. So that's something you need to appreciate. You also have to realize the leaves of the onion themselves, the one in the top corner there, that they are modified leaves. They're not the usual leaves that you would see on your normal crops per se. They're modified, they don't look the same way, they're spiny, they're finer leaves, okay? And by doing this, one of the things when you think about the roots, the importance of the roots is how much water it can take up. How deep is it going to go? So understanding the roots in this case is knowing that you have to apply water, because these onion doesn't grow that deep. When you're looking at the leaves, because leaves are important for what? Anyone? For photosynthesis. And for those who don't understand photosynthesis, let's break it down. Making food for the plant, okay? What the plant would eat. And those leaves are deadly important because they're fine. So you need a place that is less shady, for example, because obviously your leaves need sunlight in this case. Once you've gotten majority of everything, I like to give you an idea of what you should be aspiring to get when you're dealing with your onions. What you're looking for is the characteristics of a good onion. Your bulb should be well covered with dry scales. We've established that scales are leaves, okay, so you need to have dry scales. The neck of the onion should also be dried, okay? It shouldn't have roots. By the time you're obviously harvested it and whatnot, it shouldn't have roots. There should be no sprouting. There should be no disease and no splitting of the actual bulb. So you're looking for a perfect bulb. This is what you are looking to get. Obviously, by the time we plant, something is going to go with our onions. You're not going to get a perfect onion like this in all instances. Doesn't mean that it's not marketable, all right? But this is what we are looking to get. We have various types of onions or varieties of onions. In the world, we categorize them as red, yellow, and white onions, all right? And this is how the world knows them. Obviously, we might not know that because we are how we are. We just pick them up when we eat them. You just know them as the big red onions that you just see in Massy. Or the white ones that are real expensive that you don't really buy that often. And the brown ones that are always home. So this is how we categorize them. All right, but onions are normally categorized as the red ones, as you can see here, the white ones, and the yellow or brown ones, okay? In terms of bulbing themselves, the way the onion grows is mostly by sunlight, by light. The bulb is actually affected by the day length of a day, basically the length of day that it gets, how much sunlight it gets. And for the Caribbean, especially, we are looking to have onions that prefer around 12 to 14 hours per day so that we can actually produce the size bulbs that we are looking at. It is quite possible to have that amount. It is quite possible, especially with depending on when you actually schedule, but it's also going to be based on the actual varieties that you plant out, okay?